What if the moment you feel most uncertain is actually when you're about to make your best decision? What if doubt, that uncomfortable feeling we all try to avoid, is actually a superpower waiting to be unleashed? This is the revolutionary premise of Bidhan Parmar's groundbreaking book, Radical Doubt, turning uncertainty into surefire success. Professor Parmar isn't just another business theorist. He's the Shannon G. Smith Professor of Business Administration at the University of Virginia's Darden School of Business and one of the world's top 40 business school professors under 40. His research has appeared in prestigious journals like Organization Science and Psychological Science, and he's dedicated his career to understanding how we can make better decisions when the path forward isn't clear. The central message of Radical Doubt is simple yet profound. Stop running from uncertainty and start embracing it as your greatest tool for growth. Most of us have been conditioned to see doubt as weakness, as a red flag that something's wrong with our thinking. But Parmar argues this couldn't be further from the truth. Doubt is actually a green light, a signal that we're about to learn something important about ourselves and the world around us. Think about it this way. When you're at the gym lifting weights, the 8th and 9th repetitions are the hardest. Your muscles burn, you want to quit, but that's precisely when you're building strength. Parmar suggests that intellectual discomfort works the same way. When we feel uncertain, when we're wrestling with competing possibilities, that's when our thinking muscles are getting stronger. The key is learning tosui. This is exactly when I'm improving how I think about things and learning something new, instead of running away from the discomfort. This reframing has profound implications for how we live our daily lives. Instead of making hasty decisions just to escape uncertainty, we can pause and ask ourselves what this doubt might be trying to teach us. When you're facing a career change and feeling overwhelmed by all the unknowns, that uncertainty isn't a sign you're not ready. It's a sign you're taking the decision seriously and considering all angles. One of the most practical concepts Parmar introduces is treating your intuition as a hypothesis rather than a final answer. We've all had those gut feelings that seemed so right in the moment but led us astray. Instead of blindly following or completely dismissing these instincts, Parmar suggests treating them as starting points for investigation. Your intuition says this job opportunity feels perfect? Great. Now let's test that hypothesis. What evidence supports it? What evidence challenges it? What small experiments can you run to gather more data? This approach has completely changed how I think about decision-making in my own life. Last year, I had a strong intuitive feeling about a potential business partnership. Instead of immediately saying yes or dismissing the feeling as unreliable, I treated it as a hypothesis to be tested. I arranged coffee meetings with mutual contacts, did small pilot projects together, and gradually gathered evidence. That process revealed both the strengths and limitations of the partnership in ways I never would have discovered by simply trusting or ignoring my gut. The book draws on cutting-edge research from neuroscience, psychology, and moral philosophy to show why our traditional approaches to decision-making fall short in uncertain situations. When we're dealing with what researchers call radical uncertainty, the kind of situation where we don't even know what we didn't know, our usual tools of analysis and prediction simply don't work. This is where doubt becomes invaluable. It forces us to slow down, consider multiple possibilities, and remain open to information that might contradict our initial assumptions. Parmar introduces the concept of unknown unknowns, borrowed from former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld's famous formulation. There are things we know, things we know we don't know, and crucially, things we don't know we don't know. This last category is where the most dangerous mistakes happen, but it's also where the greatest opportunities for learning and growth exist. Doubt helps us identify when we might be in unknown territory and encourages us to seek out perspectives and information we hadn't previously considered. The practical applications of this thinking extend far beyond business decisions. Consider relationships. When you're having repeated conflicts with someone you care about, instead of getting stuck in being right, doubt can help you ask, what might I be missing here? What unknown might be influencing this situation? This kind of thinking has saved more relationships than any amount of stubbornness about being correct. Or consider personal goals. Maybe you've been pursuing a fitness routine that isn't working and you're frustrated with your lack of progress. Instead of either giving up or grinding harder, Doubt invites you to question your assumptions. Are you focusing on the right metrics? Are there aspects of nutrition or recovery you haven't considered? What don't you know that you don't know about effective fitness? The book emphasizes the importance of metacognition, or thinking about thinking. This higher-order awareness helps us recognize our own cognitive biases and adjust our decision-making accordingly. When we're aware that we tend to seek information that confirms what we already believe, we can deliberately seek out contradictory evidence. When we know we have a tendency to stick with the status quo, even when change would be beneficial, we can push ourselves to genuinely consider alternatives. One of the most liberating aspects of Parmar's approach is that it frees us from the tyranny of having to be right all the time. Social media has created a culture where admitting uncertainty feels like admitting weakness, where changing your mind is seen as inconsistency rather than growth. But radical doubt suggests that our obsession with being right is actually making us worse decision makers. When we're more committed to defending our existing beliefs than to finding better answers, we close ourselves off to the very information that could help us improve. Instead of seeking perfect answers, Parmar encourages us to seek better answers. This shift in language might seem subtle, but it's transformative. Perfect answers don't exist in most real-world situations, and the pursuit of perfection often leads to paralysis or premature closure. Better answers, on the other hand, are always achievable. There's always another perspective to consider, another piece of evidence to gather, another small experiment to run. For leaders and managers, the book offers specific strategies for creating environments where doubt can flourish productively. This includes evaluating effort and learning, not just outcomes. Implementing systems like pre-mortems and post-mortems to systematically harvest lessons from both successes and failures, and encouraging small bets that allow teams to learn with minimal investment and cost. The concept of small bets deserves special attention because it's so applicable to personal life. Instead of making large, irreversible commitments based on incomplete information, we can design small experiments that help us learn more about what we want and what works. Thinking about a career change, instead of immediately quitting your job, you might volunteer in the new field, take online courses, or do informational interviews. Considering a major purchase? You might rent or borrow the item first, or buy a less expensive version to test your assumptions. What strikes me most about Parmar's work is how it transforms anxiety-inducing situations into opportunities for growth. The next time you're facing a difficult decision and feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty, you can remind yourself that this discomfort is actually a sign that you're engaged in important learning. The doubt isn't telling you to retreat. It's telling you to engage more thoughtfully. The book also addresses why this is so challenging in our current moment. Digital environments, especially social media, tend to reinforce our existing beliefs and make us more attached to being right. We get dopamine hits from likes and shares that confirm our worldview, making it psychologically harder to sit with uncertainty or genuinely consider alternative perspectives. Recognizing this dynamic is the first step toward counteracting it. Perhaps most importantly, radical doubt offers hope. It suggests that we can all get better at working through uncertainty and doubt. This isn't a fixed personality trait. It's a skill that can be developed through practice. Every time we choose to sit with discomfort rather than rushing to judgment, every time we treat our strong opinions as hypotheses to be tested rather than truths to be defended, we're building our capacity for wise decision-making. As I reflect on the past year of applying these principles, I realize how often I used to make decisions simply to escape the discomfort of not knowing. Choosing a restaurant quickly just to avoid the anxiety of too many options. Forming strong opinions about complex issues based on limited information. Avoiding difficult conversations because I wasn't sure how they'd go. But uncertainty isn't the enemy of good decision-making. Certainty based on incomplete information is. The ultimate message of radical doubt is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because it reminds us how much we don't know and can't predict. Empowering because it shows us that this ignorance isn't a bug in the human system, it's a feature. Our capacity for doubt, our ability to sit with not knowing, our willingness to change our minds when presented with better evidence. These are among our greatest strengths as thinking beings. In a world that seems to reward quick answers and confident assertions, choosing doubt requires courage. But it's this choice that leads to better decisions, stronger relationships, and more meaningful growth. The next time you feel uncertain, remember Professor Parmar's invitation. This isn't a sign that something's wrong. This is your signal that something important is about to be learned. Doubt isn't the opposite of confidence. It's the foundation of wisdom. And in an uncertain world, wisdom might just be our most practical superpower.